All right. Then in this episode, we are going to be talking about near-death experience. We're going to talk about the feeling of not wanting to be here in this planet. We're going to address some topics for people that are empathetic and hypersensitive. We're going to talk about ways that we can shift from that feeling of not wanting to be here to actually feel embodied, have that embodiment sensation, mind, body, and soul. I'm so excited for this episode. Come and join us. Welcome to Be Healthy Podcast, the best way to discover practical tips and holistic health information from amazing wellness experts, holistic doctors, healers, and even real people with incredible healthy journey stories to inspire you to become the best version of yourself. I am Anna Marinho, a physical therapist, a self-healing specialist, bestseller author, and public speaker. I heal myself before, and I know you have the power to heal yourself too. And today we will talk with Donna Riley, the Miracles Through Movement mentor. Donna is a gifted intuitive movement facilitator, clairvoyance, divine channel, and inner transformation leader. She knows her purpose here is to awake, inspire, and empower women to be fully embodied in their feminine power. At the age of 12, Donna had a near-death experience and didn't tell anyone for 35 years. She didn't really want to be on this planet at that time. Donna spent those years diving deep into how to become a fully integrated human being. She has studied many movement techniques, personal development, epigenetic, energy medicine, and divine feminine. I'm so excited to talk to Donna about all the experience. Thank you so much, Donna, for being here. Thank you for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so excited, Anna. Thank you for having me.
Yes, then let's start. When I was reading your bio and learning more about you, the idea of having a near-death experience, it really made me very curious. I feel like people that had that kind of experience has a whole different way of looking at life. Then tell me a little bit more about that experience.
Yeah, so I was 12 years old and I got very, very ill, basically, and ended up having to have a surgery and caught pneumonia in the surgery room, and spiked a fever. So yeah, I was leaving my body, looking over my body, all that stuff, and I was very at peace about the whole thing. I was ready to go.
Wow. And tell me a bit more about that. From that place, and 12 years old, that's quite young. And then you're moving from that place of, like, what shifted after the experience for you?
What shifted is I really was unhappy being here on the planet. After that experience, I didn't tell anybody and tried to move forward with my life as if everything was normal. But the truth was, I really couldn't relate to anybody. I felt like an alien. I was not really ever happy. I had little moments of, with playing and things like that, but deep in my soul, like deep in my spirit, I didn't really feel like I fit in and didn't know how to be here. I didn't understand the world. I didn't understand how there could be hate, and I didn't understand how people didn't get that we're all one. It was very confusing to me. Things I was being taught, and I was like, no, that's not true. These limiting beliefs and these dogmas around the religious stuff. And I just was like, and all these rules that sort of, we were supposed to be pigeonholed into being a certain way rather than cultivating our soul and our creativity and our essence and who we are as an individual. I just was like, this is not a world that I want to be part of. It was very challenging for me.
Yeah, and I wonder, like, for the listeners, like, how many of you had at least one experience in your life that you felt that way? Because I certainly did that. I had my full experience of that during teenager. I had another experience of that again early this year. Then I feel like, especially with everything that's happening to the planet, a lot of people, they're sensitive, a lot of people, they are empathetic, and they can feel everything else that's happening on the planet, especially the population. It can be really challenging to be in this planet right now. Totally.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I think it's, I think for people, even if they don't consider themselves an empath or a highly sensitive person, in some way, we can't help but feel the energies that are happening right now, right? And so maybe if you don't understand that languaging, or you don't understand that world, you don't necessarily know that that's part of the reason why you're feeling physical symptoms or stress or headaches or whatever, you know what I mean? But it is because of the overwhelming energies, right, that are happening right now. And I always tell my clients that these are unprecedented times. We've never had to go through anything like this ever. So our psyche and our spirit and our emotional selves, how do we process this? Right? It's like, it's unprecedented.
It doesn't know what to do with all of the energy, the stress. We don't have a previous experience to base on that we can repeat and do better. We kind of like learning from scratch, kind of going as we're going, and we don't really have a lot of answers and solutions to make a major impact the way that we wish that we could.
Exactly.
Everybody could feel better, right?
Yeah.
It's and for the people that are listening that don't have that clarity and they question themselves, am I hypersensitive? Am I empathic? And it's kind of like when you think about those moments in your life where you feel something, and I always describe it to my clients, like when you walk in a room and it's something just doesn't feel right. And I had people that say, I just got sick to my stomach, or I got the headache as soon as I walk in this room. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's hypersensitivity. That's us being able to feel the energy around us. It doesn't need to be anything magical, special. We all have that in some degree. But being able to have that discernment of, okay, this is the energy of the room, or in our case, talking about the energy of the planet versus the energy of who we are.
Yes, exactly.
And I totally relate to some of the things that you're saying, because a lot of times I get clients, they're teenagers, and there is a something with that disconnection, with that feeling of, I don't know what's going on with me. I'm just having all those feelings. I'm feeling so confused, but I just don't feel happy. I just don't feel like I want to be here.
Yeah.
And one thing that I would like to bring to the people that are listening, that's very important to have a discernment of suicidal thoughts and not wanting to be here in the planet. Because I feel like that is a big gap. And for people that feel that sensation of not wanting to be here in the planet, and I can totally relate to that before, in any point in time, I felt like I would take my life away, or I would do something to harm myself. But the feeling of not wanting to be here is just being not satisfied with everything that's around you. And it's either we change or either the planet change. But it's a very distinct feeling. And I think it's important for people to that. Can you?
I think part of it too, you just said a key things, things we want to change. But also I think when we have that feeling, it's really our spirit, it's our soul knowing that there's more, right? It's our soul saying, no, wait, this isn't how it's supposed to, this doesn't feel right. I know there's more. And for me, that more, the epitome of the more, especially when you're talking teenagers, I think the younger generation is way more tuned in the day they were born than like my age. I'm 57, my generation. But that sensitivity to know, like, this is not the way things are meant to be, right? And your soul and spirit knows that in a core primal level. And what they know is that we are all one.
Yes.
All this fighting with these people against these people and categorizing these people this way and judging people this way, that's painful to the soul for people that are really tuned in, right? So it's like, that's the part that says, I don't want to be here. And for me, what it meant was, I don't want to live in this world. I want to live in the world where people understand we're all one. I want to live in the world where the people understand when we cooperate and be in community and help each other and see our individual essences and our individual gifts and our individual hearts. And we know that each of us contributes to the whole and rises all of us up that way. I want to be part of that world, right? So my soul knew that. That's very different than I want to kill myself.
Yes. Beautifully say. Absolutely. And that's where they tell me, okay, then you got all those feelings, right? And I feel like some people that I worked before even say, well, I have so much of the fire that's scary. Like, did you feel like that? I have like,
oh yeah,
so much that I want to change that it actually freaks me out and I freeze it instead of actually do something about it. Do you relate to some of that?
Absolutely. And as an empath, what would sometimes overwhelm me is that fire energy, that anger that I would feel for some things that were going on or for things I witnessed. It could sometimes overtake me. You know what I mean? Like, it would just be like, I would end up raging and just losing my stuff, you know, you know, like really. No, and part of that too, I recognize, is that I really understand now that I got emotionally stunted at 12. Because I wasn't living all those years and I hadn't told anybody, I hadn't processed my experience. So I found that I was still very immature emotionally. Like, when I started to really do a lot of healing work on myself and my personal development, I was like, wow, there's a part of me that's still kind of a 12-year-old girl, like emotionally.
Then, okay, then we shift from that place. I don't want to be here. Oh my gosh. Can the planet just shift and then we can all be happy again? And
yes, please.
Right? And then you shift from that place. Okay, I'm just going to isolate myself. I'm not going to live my life to the fullest. What happened that brought you back?
Yeah, so one of the things that kept me here, I will say, and this is why I'm so passionate about the idea of embodiment, is I loved to dance. And I was so fascinated by the human body. So I just was, the only time I was happy is when I was moving my body. So that, I see that as my salvation. I see that as the gift that God gave me. I had this experience of not wanting to be here, but to keep me here, he gave me this gift, right? So beautiful. I went so deep into my body for years because I was happy there. That's where I was happy, like going into myself and discovering, like, wow, when I do this move, I feel better. When I do this move, it relieves my shoulder pain. Like, you know, just like really going in and listening to the inner wisdom. So I'm sorry, you asked me what happened, how I came back. Is that what you're asking me?
Yeah, actually, you made a really good point there. We can hold on to that question for a second. How did you come back? But I'm very curious when you're talking about the movement, because I know we have a lot of similarity with the movement versus exercise.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
A little side note there. Hold on the curiosity. I get to that point in a minute to the listeners. Can we talk about a minute for what's the difference between exercise and movement?
Absolutely. So I'll tell you what my opinion about that is. Exercise is certain specific movement patterns that everybody does, thinking they're going to get fitter. So it's like your planks, your push-ups, your squats, right? These are just movement patterns. They're done repeatedly. Do 8 repetitions, do 9 repetitions, or something like running, just start running and don't stop. For me, the biggest difference between exercise and movement, exercise is mindless. It's like autopilot, do 10 squats, do whatever. You aren't even necessarily even there while you're doing it, if you know what I mean. Movement for me is multidimensional. It's like, my thing is exercise is doing something. Movement is being. Right?
I like that.
So I want you to be the movement. I want you to literally take your emotional self, your mental self, your physical self, your spirit, and I want you to completely bring it all in that moment with the movement that you're doing. Right? And then also the multidimensional piece, right? Like when you're moving, like I love when people say to me, oh, I just jumped, twisted and jumped out of my car and I threw out my back. I'm like, no, you didn't. This was years and years and years of poor body mechanics, of lack of core strength, of not moving in multidimensional ways. It's just your body finally said, I've had it, no more. You don't need to pay attention to me. So there's a huge difference. And I think what's needed now more than ever is conscious movement. movement. You know, we need to come into our bodies. You know, we need to understand, you know, I call my brand Miracles Through Movement, because this human form is just the greatest miracle ever. Like you and I know, right? Our ability to heal ourselves, our ability to listen to the wisdom that our tissues are telling us all the time, our ability to overcome physical feats that just seem completely impossible, right? All the spontaneous healing you hear of somebody who had cancer, was on their deathbed, but all this, you know, I mean, the possibilities, the miracles are endless. Yeah. But we've lost touch with that. And honestly, I believe most people never even, like, I love the idea that when babies are born, we all go, oh, what a miracle. Then what do we do the rest of our lives as we become adults? Treat our bodies like crap, get into a negative headspace, right? Think everything is hard, right? Like, I mean, it's like, wait, remember? You're a miracle.
Yes, exactly. And I love that when you brought the baby, because I think baby is such a perfect example of movement.
Movement, exactly. Like get on the floor, all around. That's how we're meant to move. Yes, exactly.
That exploration, that feeling. Yes. Oh, this goes my hand. What is
curiosity? Yep.
Curiosity, what's going on with my shoulder? How is my shoulders connected to my pelvis?
Yeah.
And the exploration is so, like watching a baby moving is something so special.
I agree.
And totally agree with your, definitely, that is a big difference. I feel like
huge.
Being a physical therapist, exercise sometimes is extremely important when you do have a good body mechanic.
Sure. Exactly.
If you're doing correctly, strengthening and doing the functional movement, it's very important for healing sometimes as well. But there is something very special. And I was actually talking to a patient yesterday because I asked him, you feeling better now? You're having less pain? Are you back exercising? He's like, oh, I just don't like exercising. It's just so hard. I can't get the time to do it. And I say, okay, how do you feel about movement? And he stopped and looked at me and he's like, oh, I can do movement. That's easier. And I was explaining to him that for me, movement is like a breath. Yeah. We can go out all day long without holding our breath, the same way we cannot go all day long holding our body.
Exactly.
Our body is designed to move the same way the breath is designed to move. Then if we look at, for the people that have a resistance with exercise, the listeners right now, if you have a resistance with exercise, go ahead and put it on the comments. Move more. Yes. You don't have to exercise more if you don't want to, but at least move more. Then make that commitment with yourself right now. That could be a great way for you to just take something away from this podcast and start moving more, whatever movement means to you.
Yeah, you know, it's such a great point, Anna, too, because I think that people get so used to like being told how to move. Yeah. Right? Go to a trainer or a teacher, like, oh, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? Am I doing it right? I'm like, oh my God. Like I tell my clients, and I tell anybody, either stand, lay on the floor, or sit, take some breaths and get present. And just like, how does your body want to move there? Like, does your spine want to move? Do you want to roll your neck? Do you want to shrug your shoulders? Like what? And just follow that, you know, or you might just put on music and just, okay, how does my body want to move to this piece of music? Right. Just explore and get, like you said, get curious, you know, like how does my body want to move? How does it, the other part of that for me is like movement is a form of self-expression. For me, when I was dancing, I mean, I loved being on stage. That's how I emoted and that's how I expressed myself. Yeah. It was far safer for me to be on stage because, again, remember, I was afraid of people. I didn't really want to be with those people. Those humans. So being on stage, there was like a separation, but I could still like emote, right, through my body and through how I moved. And oh gosh, that is so much power there. Yeah. So much power there.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's wrap that part with back to my question, because I know the listeners are waiting to hear the story. Then and I love how you bring in the exercise and the movement being the anchor to embody, right? Yeah. Then what happened that you actually came back and embody?
Yeah. So for many years, I was leaving, and I wasn't even aware I was leaving my body, right? So about 2 years ago, I had a friend who's very into functional medicine and holistic healing. And she said, you know, you're still operating from PTSD. You have a lot of symptoms, you know, from trauma from your NDE. And I said, no. What are you talking about? That wasn't trauma. And she said, well, yeah, because you didn't tell anybody and you didn't deal with it for years. So about 2 years ago, I was asking God, the universe, what is the missing piece here? What is the piece that I can finally release some of the trauma or the PTSD symptoms from that experience? And what is the final thing that'll bring me fully back? And so I was doing a self practice of fascia release. And I don't know if all your listeners know, but fascia is the connective tissue of the body, and it's the wisdom of the body, the consciousness of the body, the power of the body to heal. So I was doing a self-practice, and all of a sudden my little 12-year-old girl showed up, and she had angel wings on her back, and she started flying to the light, and she would use her hand to grab some light, and then she would come back and put it in my heart. And she did it several times, and I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then all of a sudden I realized, oh, wow, she's retrieving the parts of myself that I left behind. And at that moment, I just am crying. It's the most beautiful experience I've ever had in my life. All of a sudden I grow angel wings. She and I start dancing and weaving. We like fly up to the light. We come back to the earth. We fly up to the light, come back to the earth. And once the experience completed, I gasped and went, oh, this is what it feels like to fully be here. So all of a sudden, this was only 2 years ago, and it was right before COVID hit.
Wow.
And when COVID did hit, I was like, wow, God, okay, universe, God, spirit, I need to be here now, apparently. Like, I need to really be here.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Story and my gifts can be of service and help people now. It's time. Stop escaping and be here.
This, for the listeners that never heard that before, this is an example for soul retrieval. Then when we have experience in life that we don't feel safe in our body, then safety is something very important for our body and soul connection. When we don't feel safe in the body, a piece of our soul kind of like goes away. I'm going to make that very simple, because that will be a whole episode just on that. But a piece of our soul just leave. And it keeps there waiting until we're ready to retrieve. Then the beautiful story that Donna just shared is the experience where that moment she was ready and she was able to bring the piece back in her body, that she can connect the body and the soul as one piece versus that disconnection that she was feeling for a long time. That's so powerful. That's actually one of my favorite experience when I'm working for clients, and they just feel on their face and that feeling of gasping of like you're just born.
Yeah, it is a rebirth in a way. Yeah,
it's such a beautiful experience to see it when someone else is experiencing. I had plenty of those experiences myself, and it's just such a powerful experience. Okay, then when you say that you finally felt like I meant to be here, then what was the purpose that you meant to be here for? Like, how did you shift from I don't want to be here to the reason that I want to be here is?
Yeah, it was very clear to me that once I became fully embodied again, right before all these challenging times, and when everything started to hit, I was like, okay, like I always use the word awaken, inspire, and empower. But what became very clear to me is that my story, my experiences, how I've healed myself, what I've learned, they are needed right now. I am needed right now. And I have a very large voice. I'm passionate. So I want to take, this journey, my purpose is to remind people, right, that like we are a miracle, we can heal ourselves, we can create an amazing life, right? And we don't have to get caught up in all this other stuff. So, and I didn't say this a lot today, but really I'm passionate about doing this with women. And I'm 57, and I really work with women over 40 because it's so scary to me that women over 40 start to feel like they just need to fall apart and they're just being diminished in the world. And I'm like, no. this is like, we gotta all, let's heal, let's come together. We gotta heal this planet, people. Come on, ladies, we got this.
Yes, I love that, Donna, because I can totally relate that, because for me, that was my biggest shift. I feel like I have this purpose since I born. Like I remember being 6 years old and be like, I need to help the planet. I gotta make an impact.
I get
And
it, yeah.
when I got to that place of like, you know what, I'm just not making an impact enough. Like I'm just not shifting enough. Then if I can make the impact, then what's the point of me being here? And it's kind of like we were saying, it's getting that frustration, getting that fire to shift the to, okay, what can you do? It's going to make an impact. What can you do that's going to make a difference? That's going to create the planet that we want to see. Then let's just kind of close up here with, for the people that are out there and they are having some of those feelings of like, I don't know, what can I do to really shift from that place of not belonging, don't want to be here, so frustrated and dissatisfied with everything that's happening in the planet. Give me like some tips for people to shift from that place to that place of feeling embodied again.
Yeah, I think, one of the most important things during these times, I mean, at any time, but especially now, is to really and truly come back to our body, to really pay attention. How am I feeling in any given moment? And really have some kind of practice that's conscious movement. And I'm very passionate right now about let's keep it simple. The number one thing you should be seeking right now is to feel good. Just feel good. What feels good right now? How does your body want to move? And then using that intention of getting present enough with the body that I always tell my clients, you want to learn, there's a quick little tip here. You need to learn your yes and your no from your body. So you can do a little meditation, take a few moments of breathing, and then just say, body, show me a yes. Body, show me a no. And that might take a while to practice if you're not used to, kind of being aware of the signals and the little messages that are subtle. But I always encourage my clients to do that with everything, any piece of information they hear, anything a doctor tells them, anything, someone's trying to make them fearful about. Just like really let the information or that land in their body and just look for where, is this in alignment for me? Does this feel like my truth? Like, what is my body's inner wisdom? Because your body's inner wisdom is far beyond any mental thought or any doctor's education. It's like, I mean, that's just the truth, right, Anna? We know that, like on every level. And so really coming back and reclaiming that the miracle of your body, the messages, the ways it speaks to you. Don't wait to get like so stressed out that you have all kinds of health problems, right? Like, start now, like really claiming, I mean, everybody talks about breathing is the most basic thing, but that's another thing that's true. Like 5 times a day, take 10 huge conscious breaths, right? Just really coming back to yourself and seeking feeling good. Beautiful,
beautiful, beautiful. It sounds so simple.
I know.
and it's so complex, and there is so much into that, right? And for the listeners, if you can take one thing home, if you can start, like take action after you listen to the podcast, make a commitment with yourself, take some kind of action from this, not just learning and listen to it, but actually start practicing. I love the suggestions Donna had that you can do the breath, because as simple as can be. You can also start practicing your yes or no. And just for the people that are completely new to that, all my patients already know that because I talk about that all day long. But if you never heard about that before, it can be some easy way for you to start practicing that. It's bringing things that you know for sure that's a yes or no. Then, for example, the sky is blue. Then if you say the sky is blue, your body is going to say, yes, that makes sense. Notice how that feels. If you say the sky is green, then you pause and you listen again, and you're going to feel that something in your body will respond different. For some people, it's going forward or going back. Some people go one side versus the other. Some people feel like the whole body closed versus opening. Whatever that means for you, that's your yes and that's your no. That's what Donna was referring to. And it's so, so important. Then couple options here. You can practice your body awareness with the yes or no. You can work on your breath, or you can also allow your body to move, have that freedom of movement that we talk about today. Then go ahead and choose 1, 2, 3, or all 3 of them, and post on the comments below and let us know which one you're going to be practicing. And if you have been practicing there for some days or some weeks, let us know how is that helping you moving forward and how is that impacting your body. I'm very, very curious to hear the impact it's going to make in your life, because I know it makes a big difference. Then perfect. Oh, there's so much good stuff here that we can talk about it. But let's go ahead and close. Is there anything else like that you would like to leave our listeners with?
Yes. Above all else, everything that you do say, try to come from a place of radical self-love. Have a radical self-love, self-nurturing, self-care practice, and everything else trickles out from there.
Beautiful, beautiful. Self-care, self-love. We can't go wrong with that. That's for sure. Beautiful words, Donna. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Such a juicy topic. We can talk about those things for hours. So sure. And thank you so much for the listeners. They're here with us today. If you enjoy, make sure you subscribe to our channel, leave us a review, and share our podcast with anyone that you know needs to improve their health. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you hit the notification bell so you get notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to work with me and learn how to ignite your self-healing abilities so you can save money, time, and pain, you can join Be Healthy Academy. And for Donna, what would be a best way for the listeners to contact you?
It's very, very simple. Contact Donna.me.
Perfect. And I'm going to make sure that I put that link below of the show notes. And if you're listening that into any podcast episode and podcast platform, you can also go to the podcast show notes website, and you can find all the information, the detail about everything that we've been talking about here today. And thank you so much, everybody. And that's it for today. Keep it up with the good work. I will talk to you later. And until then, be healthy.